Alright. This has got to be like my fourth or fifth take. It's not because I think the content is bad. It's because that I've gotten onto trains of thought in the last couple takes, and then it kind of just stops. I lose wind. So this is going to be my last attempt for tonight, and hopefully it works out. Um, there's a couple of things I really wanted to talk about. I wanted to expand a little bit more on fear and depression and all those things. Not necessarily in my context, but more of a relatable context. I think that's important because some of the writing that should be coming out soon is all about relatability. It's not necessarily personal or specific, but it's a little bit transparent in that I hope that it kind of encompasses a lot of stories. I always talk about when people ask me, like, why do you write? Why do you do this? Like, why do you spend these late nights doing stuff like this? It's because it really is my best way to communicate with the world. I love the idea of my words lasting. And the internet is great for that, obviously. But when I put things down on paper, they carry a lot more meaning. Um, my words do. I mean, they carry a lot more meaning. They carry weight because they're not just over in a fleeting second, and it's not just a memory. It's there. It's present. It's going to stay present no matter when you read it. It's because you're reading it in that moment. You're not replaying it in your mind. Um, so basically, what I'm trying to say is that you know I'm trying to live my life in a way that is transparent in that I understand I have fears. I understand that I have vulnerabilities. I know that I have a predisposition for depression and other mental illnesses. I know that they're part of my story and my history. But I'm trying to be transparent about them because it allows me to live in a world where I'm not hiding, where I've literally become somebody that I'm proud of, because people know who I am. Um, I'm really in love with the idea that we all have a unique personality. We're not part of this greater collective of thought or of ideas. That we all have the ability, this law of nature ability, to think whatever we want to think. That we have ideas, that we have unique perspectives, no matter what. Like, there are inherent emotional foundations for whatever we think about, and no person is the same. And I think it's absolutely absurd if you want to hide that beautiful part of yourself. The part that nobody else knows about. Um, so my idea of fears is that it's a gateway. And I didn't always think this, obviously. Like, fears weighed me down. They clouded me. I hid. I was intense. I destroyed myself over fears that I couldn't control. And once I realized I couldn't control them, I started to see that they were, like I said, gateways to understanding greater dreams. Like, there's a lot of like material dreams and a lot of great things I wanted to accomplish as a student, as a swimmer, as a person. Relationship goals, and be this place by this time, and then but what was I started to realize that there was nothing to lose by not doing that. Like, I was still going to be who I am, and I was still going to have the same real fears that I do have. And you put that in the context of you're not chasing something that's trans opposite of the real fears. I don't think you really have real dreams. And something I really like is asking people greatest fear, greatest dreams. Very to write love in our arms, initiative, obviously. But it's very, very important to my story, that fears versus dreams idea, because once I started asking myself that hard question, what are you afraid of? And I answered it, pretty deeply as I tend to do, pretty abstractly as I tend to do. It's the idea of being alone in my own head, and that's meaning that like I'm literally unable to talk to myself because I just there's nothing there. There's no feeling. There's no emotion. There's no ability to communicate and with the outside world, because it starts with life starts inside your own head. Like this ability to communicate, relate, to be a part of the world, be a part of something greater than yourself. It doesn't happen unless you choose it to be, and that's another beautiful thing about the human experience. So when I started to ask myself about these great fears, um, I started to realize that my greatest fear was indeed loneliness. And it wasn't loneliness in like the physical loneliness, it was loneliness in the sense that I didn't have anybody, even myself. And what's the opposite of that? It's communication, um, interaction. Uh, and so I think that there's this inherent quality in every single person to have a greatest fear. But it's an obligation, a part of the human experience to seek out your greatest dream from that. What it means to you, because your greatest fear is going to be completely unique to your experience. So there's no plausible way that your greatest dream is not going to be as well. We can all share materialistic dreams. Like as a swimmer, time standards. Every swimmer is going to have the same dream: making Olympic trials, making Olympics, getting a gold medal. But that's not going to affect me as a person. My greatest fear is loneliness. Therefore, my greatest dream is communication. And, I can break that up and be more specific, but it really comes down to this idea that I love the idea of my writing being a vessel for getting outside of my own head to process my own thoughts, process the things that go on in the world, and give people a present sense of where I'm at. My writing is not, it's not a fleeting 2-second word. It carries weight because it's always there. And so what I'm trying to really get at is that you're going to have these fears, obligations, but you're going to have these fears and insecurities, but you're going to have obligation to figure this out, and I think that's beautiful. But from that is, you can waver in between as much as you want, but at some point you're going to go down either road. Two roads diverge in a wood, and there's the healthy lifestyle and there's the unhealthy lifestyle. And you can go back and forth. Obviously, like there's going to be times where you find yourself on the unhealthy and you want to get back to healthy. But I think once you recognize that, or at least in my experience, once you recognize that you've been down a road that is so awful, and you realize that that's only awful because there's another road that's so much better, it opens a slight trail back to the road you want to be on. Um, I'm running out of my goal, time for my goal here, material goal. But I really wanted to hit on that idea of like, having predisposition for fear, but having opportunity for something so much better. They go hand in hand, and I think it's a really wonderful part of being human to know how bad it can be, because that shows just how much you appreciate how good it can be. And I'm not going to give you a blueprint, especially on a video thing. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to talk about your story. I am just going to say that I've been there. It sucks, but there's so much more, and communication is saving my life every day, and it has been saving my life every day for a long time. I've, kind of happened into some really great opportunities lately, both personal, career-wise, all this stuff, just there's a lot of facets to my life that are really on the upswing, and I'm very appreciative of that because I know when all of those were, in the trash. All right, I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna sign off. But stay tuned. I promise. I promise. Writing is coming out, and I really hope you read it because I'm really proud of it. And I'm working on a piece tonight that is fantastic and hopefully relatable to all you aspiring dreamers. That no matter how late you're up, no matter how hard it is, you can get there. So, all right, I'm gonna call it there. Um, Wishing everybody the best, and feel free to send comments. Conbolio writes at gmail.com. All right, take care.